If you are let go through a reduction in force and still want to be part of the federal workforce, you have options. But knowing those options is critical to make sure you get a good placement in a job that's either within the federal service or even possibly outside of the federal workforce. In this episode, we're going to talk about those different programs that are available to you. We're going to talk about the guidelines that you have to follow, and we're going to give you some critical action steps that you should be taking advantage of now. Welcome. I'm Ed Smith, President of Valor Wealth Partners, where we're dedicated to educating federal employees on your complex and often underutilized benefits. Before we get to this very requested topic, I want to talk a little bit about the comments that we've been seeing. There's been a lot of them, and I really appreciate the comments. I appreciate the support and helping each other as we're going through this tough time to be able to figure out what's best for everybody and trying to get the answers. Now, different agencies have a lot of different complexities, so one answer doesn't always fit to everybody. To help people out, we've decided to do an Ask Me Anything webinar. And the reason why we decided to do this is because we're doing one-sided conversation where we're spewing information at you, and then there's no way to be able to get it back and forth. So through an Ask Me Anything webinar, you're able to ask me specific questions, and we're able to help you answer those questions. This will be held on March 13th. It is the day that all of the RIF proposals are required and the day before the continuing resolution ends. So very busy evening. There's information below in the contact notes section. You can be able to sign up for it. You can also sign up for our newsletter if you want to get into future events. Now, if you're watching this after March 13th, we probably will have other ones. Probably the best way is to be able to look at the newsletter, or might have a new link down below, but we'll take the old link off because obviously you can't sign up for something that's not available anymore. During the Ask Me Anything webinar, you will ask questions in the whatever section it is, and then you as the attendees can either upvote or downvote these questions, so we are getting the most popular questions and answer them. This could go on for days if we didn't do something like that. It is going to go for an hour, and we will get to the best or the most popular questions, and hopefully we can answer them as thoroughly as you need. We will have it monitored, so we can be able to make sure that we're keeping it cordial and we're being respectful of everybody that's in attendance. There is a limit of how many people we can have, so if you want to be able to do it, sign up early, and we're going to do our best to be able to help you out. If for some reason I cannot answer a question that day, either between a lack of knowledge or there's just some complexity and we have to do a little research, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. We will have a answer sheet that we do send out via email for anybody that does attend. If you do not attend, we are not going to be sending out a recording out to all federal employees, but we will do it to people that do attend that evening. Hopefully this is beneficial. If it is successful for you, we will do more of them because we want to be able to be interactive, and the medium of a YouTube channel does not allow us to be able to answer those questions or be interactive, and we know that there's a lot more questions out there. So again, thank you for all the comments, and we hope this is a valuable resource for you going forward as we're trying to figure out all of these answers to a lot of questions. Okay. Now let's get on to the topic of today of the reemployment and retraining if you get a RIF. When we're looking at this, most people that work in the federal government are doing it because of a calling to serve in some capacity. And so if you have this calling, you may want to still work in the federal government. But even if you don't want to work in the federal government, there are options for you that the government provides to help you get reemployed or retrained. Now, just as a matter here, while we're going to be talking about retraining, there isn't a lot of meat here. Unfortunately, the federal government does a lot. I will talk about it in one of the last sections. If that's what you're looking for, retraining, you can click down there, but there isn't a lot there. Most of what we're going to be talking about today is the reemployment options for you. And they really fall under three categories. The first is really looking at the career transition services. The next is going to be the in-agency priority options. And then it's going to be the interagency priority options. And so those are the big things. To help out, we created a 4-page fact sheet so you can actually print that off. If you want to go print that off now, it's in the notes section. You can download that, print it off, and you want to take notes as you're watching the video, you can do that. Circle some things, cross some things out that aren't valuable for you. All of this information came from the benefits tab on the reduction in force page of OPM's website. So all of this information is directly from there. We wanted to use one source that was very concise in what the government was saying. For the most part, we're going to try to condense this to make it as easy as possible for the video. There is a lot of information there. This probably will be a long video. And then there's one section that I don't even understand how it was written. I don't know if AI wrote it or something, but it just doesn't make sense. But we're going to do our best to make sense for you so you can be able to use this information. All right. The first two programs we're going to talk about on the reemployment are the Agency Career Transition Assistant Plans, or CTAP, and the Priority Placement Program, or PPP. Now, both of these are pretty much the same thing, just the PPP, or Priority Placement Program, is from the DOD. That's also called the Department of Defense Stopper List. So what the CTAP and the PPP are is agencies are required to provide assistance to help their surplus or displaced employees find new employment. Now, each agency will provide services to help their employees find new employment either in the public or private sector. So again, either within the agency or outside of the agency, or in the government or outside. Selection priority for competitive service vacancies within the agency. So they're also required to be able to do this. So we'll be able to look at those different areas. Now, agencies have developed their own career transition assistant plans, and to be able to do this, look at the human resources officers on either if you're not in the DOD, or if you're in the DOD, you'd be able to do that. There's also a phone number on the fact sheet that you can be able to use that to call for the DOD's Human Resource Office, or the DOD Civilian Assistance Reemployment Care Office. Okay, so the first two, very simple. The CTAP and the PPP, they're basically transition services that will help you as a federal employee by losing services. Where most of what we're going to be talking about, again, comes down to the two other programs, which is the Reemployment Priority List and the Interagency Career Transition Assistance Plan, the ICTAP. Now, I don't know who creates acronyms or whatever, or names, but you have the CTAP and then you have the ICTAP in both of these sections. So hopefully you don't get them too confused on that section. But we're going to really be talking about the Reemployment Priority List first. There's a lot of stuff here, so let's dig into some of these things, and hopefully this is helpful for you. Now, the RPL provides separated employees with the first opportunity for positions within their former agency. All right. Each commuting area must have a separate RPL from which employees have been separated by a RIF. So not only is your agency going to have an RPL, but it's really going to be for each commuting area that's going to have that. So it's even more helpful because it's going to be in an area that you live. Now, when you're looking at eligibility for an RPL, there's a couple of different specifics that we have to be able to look at for you. The first is you are serving under an appointment in a competitive service in a tenure group 1 or 2 at the time of the RIF separation. Second, you have not refused an offer at the same grade or representative rating during that RIF, and you have at least a minimally successful current rating. So again, looking at that you're in a certain competitive service group, you're in the same grade or area, and then you have a minimally successful rating. So a couple different factors on there. Now, when you're going to be looking at for consideration for the RPLs, you're entitled to be considered for positions for which you are available, providing all of the following conditions are met. You meet the qualifications. It's no higher of a grade or equivalent, and no higher grade promotion potential than the position from which you were separated. The same type of work schedule, and in the same commuting area. Again, remember, each commuting area has its own RPL. All right. Now, the RPL does last for 2 years, so that's a pretty good duration period for that. And if you want to apply for an RPL, this is what you need to be able to do. You can apply through your servicing human resources office beginning when you either receive a certificate of expected separation or RIP separation notice through the effective date of RIF separation. So that's the RPL. That's the easier of the RPL or the ICTAP. The ICTAP is the one that I was saying was very confusing. I don't know who wrote this or how they wrote this, but it just really talks in circles. And so I'm going to do my best to help you understand what's going on here. Again, the written format could be very beneficial as far as it might be able to show you a little bit more information of the ICTAP. That way you can go through it a little bit easier than just listen to me, unless you really like that. Okay, so the ICTAP has been designed to help federal employees who have lost their job due to downsizing or find position in other federal agencies. So the RPL is inside your agency, and the ICTAP is outside outside of your agency, but still within the federal government. All right. Now, how the ICTAP works. All right, when an agency is willing to go outside the agency to hire candidates, it must advertise its vacancies on OPM's automated government-wide employment information system, USA Jobs. One of the things you have to look at is all agencies you're going to have the first, that RPL, which is going to be the priority center that you're going to have. If they have to go outside of that, they can, but with all of these RIFs, there's a chance that the ICTAP, you might not even get to that because of the priority in the 2-year priority on that RPL. So while the ICTAP is nice, it's also a longer shot of trying to be able to shift between agencies with so many people being let go and RIFed, and the bumping and retreating, everything that's been going on for people moving around. I think the ICTAP is going to be a lot harder to be able to take advantage of. The RPL probably will be your best option. But let's dig into this a little bit more. The USA Jobs provides easily accessible worldwide federal employment information, updated every business day, and a database of more than 12,000 worldwide job opportunities. Now, this is what OPM says on their website. I do not think there's going to be 12,000 jobs when everybody's looking out for this. There'll be a lot of vacancies, but I don't know how fast they're going to be updating this with pulling the positions off that are not going to be refilled, at least not refilled right away, as they're trying to reduce the size of the force. We're going to be able to look at what that is. But they do say they have a lot of jobs, but it really is going to depend after this RIF really where this comes from. USA Jobs is available on the internet. You can retrieve current job vacancies worldwide. You can find employment information fact sheets, which is pretty nice, obtain applications and forms, apply for many jobs online, which is very easy to be able to do. Online resume builder, we don't suggest you wait until a RIF to do this, so we suggest you start looking at online resume building tools already. And then finally, many vacancies listed on the site. You can submit your USA Jobs resumes directly to a hiring agency electronically. All of this sounds really good. I didn't have to, I've never looked on USA Jobs. I've never applied for a federal job on USA Jobs. When I went into the federal service, I had a recruiter that got me involved. There was USA Jobs, so it wasn't even an option that long ago on the internet. But it does seem like they have a lot of options for you. If somebody has used USA Jobs before and has some tips or tricks, please put some comments there. Again, these comments are great, people. We really love seeing the help that's going on. So if somebody's got an idea on the USA Jobs and they just want to put some stuff, try to keep it somewhat civil. I know that some people might be frustrated and they might have there, but again, some realistic situations of what have actually happened could be beneficial to other people that are concerned about this or have never gone on there or are just worried about what's this going to be, if this is going to be easy or hard or whatever. Those comments can be very helpful as people are starting to this process. I'm going to be looking at this. Okay. So when you see a vacancy for which you are qualified, you should do 3 things. Develop the application package to show you meet the specific qualifications. Next, you should attach appropriate proof of eligibility for the ICTAP. Now, we're going to actually talk about proof of eligibility in a little bit. And then third, apply directly to the location stated on the vacancy announcement. So again, follow the directions on USA Jobs. I think this is pretty simple. Again, some of these things, I don't even know why they're talking about them, but yes, you need to develop a package, make sure you have the appropriate proof of eligibility, and then also apply to the place that they're telling you to apply to. Now, the next part is something that I think was a little bit of a twist. It's like a promise, but then it pulls it back a little bit. The agency will review your application material. If you meet all of the qualification requirements of a position that is in your local commuting area from which you were separated, so again, going back to that commuting area. Now, here's the interesting part. You are considered to be well qualified, and you are considered to be well qualified job. The agency is required to select you over almost any other candidates from outside the agency. So they're saying they're required to hire you, but also you have to be that well qualified that they're going to be subjective in saying, are you that well qualified? Now, you can get definitions of well qualified from the agency that's going to be hiring you, but again, I don't know how much they're going to be able to give you on that information on that. So good luck on that side. It says you're required to be selected over any other candidates outside the agency, but I think they have a lot of subjective information just in that one sentence that they have of that last clarification. Now let's look at for the eligibility. They talked about it twice and it was double talk, so I just combined it here. If you are either a current or former career or career conditional competitive service employee at GS-15 or below in tenure group 1 or 2, and you were either separated by a RIF or declined direct reassignment or transfer of function, that's where you have the eligibility. Okay, so again, current or former, you meet those criteria, that's the eligibility for the ISAP. Now, here's something different from the RPL. It's a 1 year after your separation date if you were separated by a RIF or you declined direct reassignment through the transfer of function. So where the RPL is 2 years, this is 1 year. So they're going to have to get through all of that, the 2 years on the agency side, and then this is only 1. So it's not like an extension of that. It's actually less than the RPL. So again, this is where I think the inside the agency would be better than the ICTAP. But again, you might be able to have some options there. Maybe you looked and said, hey, I want to be doing something different, or I just don't want to be in this agency anymore. And this gives you an opportunity to move in that different area. All right. We talked a little bit earlier about proof of eligibility. So let's look at this proof of eligibility. Now, you must attach the following proof of eligibility in order to exercise selection priority when applying for positions. So again, you want to be able to get this stuff together. Once you have it together, just save it, and then you can put it into any other position that you're applying. All right. If you're separated by a RIF, you need a copy of your SF-50 or the notification of personal action showing that you were separated by a RIF, or a copy of the RIF separation notice. All right, so there's an or in there. Again, the SF-50, keep that. You should have them very right at hand to be looking at any of this stuff, especially if you're applying for any government job. Now, if you were declined a direct reassignment or transfer of function, again, a copy of the SF-50 or a copy of the notice of proposed removal for declining a transfer of function. So again, the easiest answer here, just an SF-50, get that proof, and then you're good to go. I think they made a lot of confusion out of here just saying get your SF-50 and make sure you keep a copy of that. But if for some reason you didn't get it, or you haven't received it yet, or something is happening, obviously there's orders that saying that you were RIFed, or the removal for declining a transfer or reassignment. Okay. So that's the ICTAP. That's all of the reemployment options that you have, the 4 big ones. Again, 2 that are pretty much the same depending on the agency, and then the inside the agency, and then outside the agency. The last option really is a retraining opportunities that you have. And just like I talked about in a previous video about the unemployment options and getting some type of help from the government, basically they say we're going to kick it back to the states. So they're saying the Department of Labor has programs that each state has in place that if you lose your job, they should be able to help you to retrain. There is no special program for federal employees. So OPM putting it on their website and saying, hey, we have retraining opportunities. No, the states have retraining opportunities for any employee of any situation that is in a different areas to try to get them back on the feet. So they say basically contact your state and be able to look at that. So they do say it's a Workforce Investment Act of 1998, but basically it's contact the state and see what they have on those things. So the employment services from the state. So hopefully that helps you out. As always, we provide some immediate action items. The first 2 are always the same, and then the third one comes into a new one specific to this conversation. So the first action item, again, if you haven't got your electronic official personnel folder, your EOPF, get this downloaded now. We actually have the description of how to be able to do this. Please get this done really quickly. All right. Build reserves as fast as you can. We put a video out. Here's a link to that video. Zubin actually talked about it with how to be able to build reserves, how to be able to start planning now in case this RIF happens. If these RIFs come out relatively soon and we're already starting to see this, you don't have a lot of time. You need to build reserves as fast as you possibly can. Do not wait for a RIF to say, oh, geez, I don't have enough money to put food on my table or pay for rent or your housing or whatever that is. I can't say this enough. Please look at the guidelines to help you be ahead of these things. We don't want to see people in pain, and building reserves gives you the best long shot to be able to make sure that you're maintaining these different areas. The third area that we want you to be able to look at is really pertaining to the reemployment and retraining. Okay, and so what I want you to do is really think about what you want to do in the future. All right, and it doesn't have to be what you're doing. I know that you may love what you're doing. You may really have wanted to be in this area, but these times of uncertainty and change bring about an opportunity for you to do something that you really want to be able to do. So the first part of this is to brainstorming what your dreams of work would be. Now, some people say, I don't like working. That's fine. But to get the money, you need to do some work. So what is that ideal job? Try to look at those things. And it could be something that you had a dream many years ago and you gave up on that dream to work and do something else, and then you just got sucked into the process and it's something you never went back to. It could be a hobby. It could be something you really love to be able to do. So put a list down of the things that you really want to be able to go after and see if that's something that you can be able to do. Create a resume that matches that dream. So you want to be able to construct your resume so it's going after the things you really want to be able to do, and then start networking in the areas that might be able to do. So if it's outside of federal service, there might be some way to be able to use like LinkedIn or some other boards online that you might be able to find some people that might be able to connect you and get you into a spot a little bit quicker. People that have a good and strong network can get jobs a lot quicker than people that are just putting resumes online and hoping that it reads it the right way. Most resumes these days are read by computers and through different systems that sort stuff. So unless you have the good keywords in there, the chances of you getting that job are probably a lot less. And you could send out hundreds of them hoping for the right job. And at some point, you just get to the point that you're just hoping to get anything. So really look at what you want to do and then match the activities to be able to get to what that is. Hopefully this helps in framing what that next position is if you get a RIF. I would start doing this now. This is not something I would wait till later on. The more prepared you are, if something happens, the better off you're going to be. If you're very prepared and nothing happens, you have one or two choices. Wow, I can't believe I put that dream on hold and I never went back to it, and maybe I am going to pursue this. Or you're saying, you know what? I'm good. I'm happy right now. I'm going to stay where I'm in. And maybe in the future, I might do this. Or maybe I'll start a business and do something like that. But there's some options available for you. Hopefully this has been helpful for you today. We want conflict-free, unbiased advice, and hopefully you're able to get that. Until next time, thank you very much.